Welcome to this tutorial showing you how to create a piece of artwork in response to Andrea Constantini. And in Photopea, I have already opened File New, and it's opened up this box here. And I'm going to go to Print and A4, but I'm going to change the width to be the same as the height. And that's going to make it square. And then I'm going to make sure it's 300 dots per inch and the background is white. Okay, so I give myself a square project to work on. I've also opened this texture, a concrete texture, on Google, and I'm just going to use the rectangle select tool, and I'm going to hold shift while I do it so that I get a square. Press Control C and then Control V to paste it in. And I'm just going to drag it so it covers the whole of the project's space. And there you go, that's my background sorted. I'm just going to change colors now. So image adjustments, black and white, click OK. And then image adjustments, color balance, just so I can bring up the red a bit. And then I'm going to go image adjustments, hue saturation, and I'm going to just bring up the saturation a bit so it's a bit more red. Okay, and I'm going to go image adjustments, brightness, contrast, and bring down the contrast and the brightness a little bit. Okay. It feels like it needs to be a bit more yellowy, so I'm going to go image adjustments, color balance again. I'm just going to nudge down the blue. That's better. Okay, right, so that's my background done and dusted. I now need to worry about the next layer up, if you will. And I found this picture of a cog on the internet, and I've just magic wanded the whole of the background, and then I press delete. And then I'm going to go select inverse, and that's going to make my mask go from my background to the cog. And I'm going to press delete again, but then you see the mask stays there, and I can just change to a kind of browny color and then use the paint bucket to fill that mask. So I now have a cog made of brown. Okay, and I'm going to use the rectangular select tool and just copy that with Control C. And paste it into here with Control V, and there it is. So I use the arrow tool just to move it about and resize it, and I'll know it's in the middle because it's got that nice middle line that it snaps to. Okay, make it a touch bigger, I think. All right, now I'm going to go to the drop down menu above it, and I'm just going to scroll through them with the down key on my keyboard and the up key to get it looking a bit transparent. I think multiply is the best for that. And then I'm going to go to the opacity and just make the opacity a little bit less so that you can see the texture through it. And then I'm going to go image adjustments, hue saturation, and just bring the saturation down some because it was a little bit of a bold brown. Right, okay, that's better. Now I need to fill that cog. I found this map of Palm Springs in California. It's a special place to me, so I thought I'd use it. I'm just going to take that bit there, Control C to copy it, and then go back to my project, Control V to paste it, and then the arrow tool to resize and move about. And I'm going to plop it in the middle of the cog there. Okay. Next, to go to this picture of the Badlands near Palm Springs that I got from the internet. I've already removed the sky with the polygonal mask tool and pressing delete. And I'm just selecting the whole lot now, pressing Control C to copy it, and then Control V to paste it into my project. And I'm just putting it at the bottom of this circle. So I've got the map showing around the top with the mountains in front. Okay, that's good. Right, I'll just make that layer invisible for a second so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going back to the circle layer, getting the magic wand tool, clicking all around the outside of that circle and going back to this layer and then pressing delete, because the mask then cuts off everything that isn't in the circle. Okay, right click on the mountain layer, click merge down, and it merges to the one below it, which is the map. So they're both on one layer now. Then I go image adjustments, black and white, click OK, and then image adjustments, color balance, and the same as I did the other layers, I'm just whipping up the red, bringing down the blue, so that I get them looking like they're similar to the background. Okay. Right, next up, I've already taken this photo of me and magic wanded the background and pressed delete to get rid of it. I'm now going to use the rectangle select tool, Control C to copy it, and Control V to paste. And then I'm going to move it down until I get it where I want it, kind of below the cog. And then image adjustments, black and white, and image adjustments, color balance. But I'm looking for me to be not quite as brown. Still want to be semi black and white, so I'm only bringing the red up a tiny bit and the yellow down a tiny bit. Okay, as you'll find with this type of project, I'm not mad keen now I've put myself into it on the image in the cog. So I'm just going to go image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and I'm just going to bring the brightness and contrast down a little bit. I think that's slightly better. Okay, things like that happen. Right, now I'm going to open up some clouds. And I found these by searching cloud PNG on Google, and they give you these transparent clouds. And you Control C and Control V to copy and paste those clouds in once you've selected them with the rectangle select tool. And I'm going to place them a kind of midpoint of my head. The idea being that I want to remove the top of my head like in Andrea Constantini's work. And the clouds help to kind of make a nice way of making your head seem as if it's disappearing into the clouds. And so I'm doing the same again, rectangular select tool on another cloud that I found, Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it into the new project. And using the arrow tool, as always, to resize and move. And remember to press Shift when you're resizing so that you don't squish or stretch the image in any way. Okay. And just putting these kind of like, so they're one set of clouds. Okay, that's good. Let's open another cloud. Scroll down. There it is. Okay, rectangle select tool as with the other two. Control C to copy, Control and V to paste. And I think I'll put him up here. Okay, shimmy him about. Not mad keen on the fact that they disappear into the Palm Springs map. Gonna have to do something about that in a minute. Just gonna grab one more cloud. And Control C, Control V. Oh, he's big. Shrink him down with the arrow key, pressing Shift. And I want him down there by my shoulder. But a little bit smaller than that. And I want him to be below me, so I'm going to grab the cloud layer and I'm going to drag it down so it's underneath me. So it gives the picture a bit more depth. Makes me feel part of the image. Okay, right now, as I said, I'm not mad keen on that map still, so I'm going to do something about it. Image adjustments. Color balance, nope, hue and saturation, and then I'm going to change the lightness down, which makes it too grey at the moment, but I'll go image adjustments, color balance, and bring up the red again and bring down the blue, and that just makes it a little bit more dark. So now these clouds will stand out, so I can move them over. There, I feel better now. Okay, right. Next up, I am going to get rid of the top of my head now. So go to my layer with me on it. And I'm going to use the eraser tool at a nice big size so I can see what I'm doing. And then literally along the top of those clouds where they're most opaque, I'm just going to erase the top of my head. And it looks like my head's kind of disappearing into the clouds now, which I think is fantastic. But that area is a bit empty now. So I'm going to go File, Open, scroll down, and I got this lovely picture of St. Paul's Cathedral. And I'm just going to get rid of the background. And okay, right, now I've got rid of the background. I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool just to go around it so I don't get those bits in the corner there. Press Ctrl C once it's selected. Go back to my project, press Ctrl V to paste it in, and you can see it down there. I'll just move it up so you can see it. So it's the top layer, and I'm just going to put it into my cog. Nice and big. Okay. Right, once I'm happy with where it is, I'm going to go back to the layer that has the cog on it. And like I did earlier, magic wand the outside, then go back to the St. Paul's Cathedral layer and press delete. And that's going to get rid of St. Paul's Cathedral everywhere where it's not in that circle. Okay. Right. Now I'm going to just change it up. Image adjustments, black and white. Okay. And we want it to stay quite black and white. So although I'm still going to go to image adjustments, color balance, I'm just going to move these very, very slightly just to make it so it's not completely black and white, but it's more black and white than the other imagery. Okay. That's good. I'm now going to drop it down below the clouds and below me. There we go. And I'm going to double click on that layer, seeing as I'm here, because I want to put a little bit of an outer glow around it. So I'm going to go normal, make sure that the color is black. Click OK. And then I'm going to use the different settings just to make it a different size and bring the opacity down a bit so it's not quite so full on. Click OK, and that's looking good. And while I'm doing this, I might as well just put a little bit of shadow, drop shadow underneath the circle layer. Just going to turn off the global angle so that I can choose the angle of the drop shadow myself on this layer. I'm just going to change the distance a bit and the size, and it's just making a very little bit of shadow underneath the circle layer, again to add that feeling of depth. Okay, and then same for me. I'm going to use drop shadow on myself as well. The settings are pretty much as they were, so I need to just change things about, change the angle of the shadow. I just want the shadow to be showing to my left and not to be too bold. So bring the opacity down a bit, I think. Distance down, that's it. Opacity is okay. All right, that'll do. Right, next we're going to start adding some things into the piece. So I'm going to go File, Open, and start grabbing some images I've already collected, like this hummingbird, and it's on a white background, so I'm going to magic wand that background and press delete. And then I'm going to use the rectangle select just to select it, press Ctrl C to copy it, and Ctrl V to paste it in. And I'm just going to put it down there, make it a bit smaller, maybe swivel it a little bit, not too much though. There we go, good. And I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation, and I'm just going to drop the saturation a bit so it's more in keeping with the piece of work. Then File, Open. I'm going to grab another hummingbird that I found, And again, it's on a white background, so I'm going to magic wand that and press delete. There we go. And then I'm going to rectangle select this image too, and Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it. And this one is bigger than it needs to be, so I'm just going to shrink it down. It's going in this corner, but I want to flip it, so I'm going Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally, and it just flips it over. And I'm going to swivel it a little bit, and I'm going to resize it. There we go, into that corner. And same with the last one, I'm going to go Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and bring the saturation down so that it fits in more. Okay, right, now to add another object. File open, this time a shark, and I've already taken the background off of this shark with the polygonal lasso tool. I'm just going to press Control C and Control V, having selected it, and pasting it into this image, using the arrow tool to resize it and place it where I would like it to be. This is very much about thinking about the balance of the piece and making sure objects are the right size and in the right place. And again, I'm going to desaturate that with Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation. And I think I'm going to make him a bit smaller and bring him up. I think those clouds could go up a bit as well now. And you see, this is what you're going to be able to do with the layers. It's because everything's on a different layer. We can decide where we want it to be and move things about. Until you start getting extra things in, you don't really know how things are going to look. So it's okay to be able to shimmy them about. Okay, right, I found this picture of two lions roaring on a white background. Again, I'm going to magic wand it and press delete to get rid of the background. And I'm just taking the male lion and pressing Control C to copy and Control V to paste him in. There he is in the middle of the picture. I'm going to resize that. And again, he's facing the wrong way. So I'm going to use Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally. And I'm going to just swivel him as well. So it looks like he's peeking out from behind the building. Okay, a bit smaller. And then drag that layer down to below St Paul's Cathedral. And in a shocking turn of events, instead of desaturating him, I'm going Image Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and I'm actually going to pump up the saturation on the lion so he stands out a little bit. Okay, that's good. Right, next up, we're going to grab a fish. And this is directly responding to Andrea Constantini. I only need the front of the fish, so I'll just select that with the rectangular select. And then Control C and Control V to copy and paste that in. And again, he's facing the wrong way, so I'm going to Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally. And he's facing the right way now. Okay, and I'm going to right click and duplicate that layer because I want more than one of those fish. And I'm going to take that new one and shrink it down a bit. And then shimmy it into place. And then again, with that one, right click, duplicate layer. And I get a duplicate of the small one. And I'm going to plop that there, but I think I'm going to put him below. No, maybe not. That's good. Okay. Right, now I'm going to double click on one of the fish and I'm going to go to the outer glow, and the settings are already as we had. I think they're a bit big, so I'm going to bring the size down. That's better. Click OK. And then I'm going to right click and layer style copy, and then I'm going to layer style and paste on the other two fish, and it's going to take that same outer glow setting and paste it onto those layers too. And then I'm going to take all three of those layers and I'm going to drag them down to below me. There we go, that'll do, somewhere there. Okay. And then while I've got them all still selected, I'm just going to resize them and put them where I want them to be. Okay, right, next up, I'm going to open up a new image, this time of a plane that I have already taken the background off of. And I'm just going to select that with the rectangular select tool. And then as before, Control C to copy it and then Control V to paste it into the new project. And resizing and replacing wherever you want it with the arrow tool. And I'm just going to use image adjustments, hue saturation, and like the other elements, I'm just going to desaturate it a bit. Okay, and now I'm just going to go back to the background layer, and I'm just going to put a little bit of drop shadow on there. So turn off the global angle, want it on normal, and I want to put a nice shadow down the bottom just to give it a little bit more depth down there, so it looks like I'm in front of the background. Okay, just shimmying the settings till I was happy there. Right, next up, one more thing to add, and this is a bit of a motif of Andrea Constantini's work, adding either a paper airplane or a paper boat into the piece. So I'm going with paper plane, and I've taken the background off and cut and pasted in, just dragging it up so you can see it, so the layer's near the top. And then using the arrow tool, replacing and resizing where I want it to be, and swiveling it a little bit like that. Okay. And now I have everything in my piece, it's time to kind of take a step back, see if there's anything I want to tweak, and I'm going to do that. So I'm going back to my cog, and I'm just going to change the opacity down so it's a bit lighter. That's better, I think. Yep. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do is just go to myself and make me a little bit less saturated, a bit more black and white. They're just little tweaks, but they're what make the piece perfect in the end. Okay. All right, and that is the end of this tutorial. I hope you find it really helpful.